How are you from wherever you are watching us? There is the People's Bench coming to you from Muthu Silver Springs Hotel here in Nairobi. As usual, a very wonderful place where you can just come and relax and enjoy, have your good moment. And for much more about Muthu Silver Springs Hotel, you can scan the QR code right on your screen. I am your host, Fred Ogweno. Tonight, Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga is dancing on Raila Odinga's grave, the grave of a legend, a man who gave it all for Kenya to have the new constitution 2010, for multipartyism to thrive in Kenya. He gave it all. He went to jail for over 9 years for us to enjoy the freedom of press, the freedom of speech that we are enjoying now, both offline and online. That is the late Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga. The country is still mourning one of his most consequential leaders for over decades. May his soul rest in peace. And that is why we are here to talk about all this with none other than Mwalimu Odoyo Owidi, my friend. And why I like him and why you would always see him on the bench is that because he has the ability and the brains to say it the way it is without missing words. What a character to find around. How are you, Mwalimu?
How are you?
I'm good, my brother. Welcome back to the bench.
Asante sana.
The country is mourning. Your friend, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the former Prime Minister, is no more, Mwalimu.
You can see how humbled I am.
I see.
It is not something that you take lightly. It does not matter through which forests you have walked with someone, through which seas you have sailed with someone. When they go, you must feel it if you are human. Even when your worst enemy dies or best friend dies, the feeling is the same. A life is lost. And this one of Raila Amolo Odinga is worst because this is one man we could spend time with, the two of us, chatting about issues, Kenya, and issues governance and issues leadership. But for now, may his soul rest in eternal peace.
One thing that you would remember the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga for. I know you used to be friends, you know. I know your history with Raila Odinga.
Yes.
His history with your brother. What is this one thing that you'd remember Agwambo for?
Two things. One, Raila had a super memory. When he's telling you a story of something that happened 30 years ago, he would have the memory until you think it happened yesterday, into minute detail, how it happened, where it happened, and sometimes even why it happened. So that I give it to him. Incidentally, I think it is genetic, because I also once sat in a plane with Oburu Odinga and we chatted from Wilson to Kisumu. And he had beautiful memories of things that happened such a long time ago. Very clear memory. Very clear storytelling, and I think I give it to him and I give it to them. And I think that explains why they had no problems leading the Luo, because history informs today, history informs how we make our decisions. Another thing which I also must not forget about Raila Odinga, it was sometimes a person who marks you. And it is something which he does, which some people sometimes think it is bad. But it can mark you and your personality and say, this is how far you can go, this is your limits. Even some of the people he keeps as advisors, he likes them, works with them very closely. But when they choose to go to elective positions, he says, no, wewe katu hapa, this is where I want you. So I think that was a way in which he knew every person he was working with. He knew those who can be destructive. He knew that those who can be constructive, and he knew those who he could work with well. And I think that I give it to him. It was an inborn talent.
Tell me about that love to Raila Odinga, Mwalimu. The love that Kenyans had for him, his supporters, to an extent that people, not many, thought that Raila could die.
In politics, Raila is the equivalent of a preacher, of a ministry owner. In politics, Raila is the opposite of the Wars and the Ezekiels. He had a gospel that he would sell to his adherents until it becomes cultic, until what he says is law, until what he commits as a crime can be forgiven. And that is what these priests also do to their congregants. It reaches a time that a preacher, say like Nganga, would slap a congregant in church and people laugh about it. They see nothing wrong. Something that if you do, you will be trolled the whole week. It is said that it is the word of mouth that changes people. And it can change you even into a zombie. And it can change you into a cultist. So after some time of following me, listening to me, I become your God. And even if you watch me kill somebody here, you will still think I should be forgiven. Or you are still searching for a good reason why I did that to use to defend me. That is how it happens. And Raila Odinga was smart in doing it. And I must also tell you how he achieved it. One of the ways of achieving it is making sure in that field, it is only you who speaks. A Luo is generally a very militant person. And let me not say a Luo. We Kenyans and Black Africans in general, we are very militant people. We like those who take us to war, and we win that war. And if we don't win, you better have a good reason for not winning or a good excuse. So after some time, we begin to follow you without, we believe it is only you. You know what, how he achieved that? If there was any politician who looks like he can also fight the enemy, in the enemy here is always the government of the day. If you want to build a cult, the boogeyman that you use to as an enemy must be a very powerful being that people fear. And you are the only one who can fight that being. Then people will follow you.
But now there is
But if
room.
you just choose anybody to make an enemy, somebody people can fight by themselves, nobody will follow you. So what he did, he makes the most powerful person in the country the enemy of the people, and that is the president. And he fights that himself. If there is anybody else within the people who wants also to fight the same animal, he always looks for a way of silencing you or keeping you out of it, so that the people knows he's the only one who can fight for them. That is why in churches, these people who form their own churches, you never see serious branches. And even if there are, when people gather together, he's the only preacher. He's the only one who stands between you and the God.
Tell me, Mwalimu, about the impact of this in Luoland, in Raila Odinga's support base, in his strongholds, the impact of his death. What are we likely to see, going by the kind of speeches that we witnessed during his funeral?
I think I want to briefly ignore the speeches we witnessed during his funeral and deal with the speeches we witnessed when he was alive. You know, you've heard people. I once met my good old friend, Ambassador Fred Outa, at the airport. And we had a brief conversation. He was complaining that I don't respect Raila Odinga. That was the parliamentary period between 2013 and 2017. And I told him, it is no better that you can go to a funeral and you are given 20 minutes to talk. And you talk about the bereaved for 2 minutes. And the remaining 18 minutes, you talk about Raila Odinga, how good he is. That is where you all get it wrong. A good person doesn't need to be talked about. His actions will be seen. What I am trying to tell you, we have politicians in the country now, especially in Luoland, whose narratives were only about Raila Odinga, how he was good, how he was all powerful, how he's the only one who can achieve anything in the world. How is the only person who says left, tunaenda left, right, tunaenda left, binguni, tunaenda binguni, chini, tunaenda chini. I don't know if they will still do that. So when you have such people as your leaders, then you ask yourself, now that Baba is not there, who will tell them whether to go right or left? Nobody. So they will be ineffective. They will be erratic. They will be underperformers. And you saw what happened yesterday when the ODM chair, Gladys Wanga, called a meeting. She goofed big time because there was no Raila to tell him left or right. She decided to do it herself. And she got it all wrong. Because you cannot come here and attempt to ban the Kikuyu from visiting Bondo when in that Bondo home you are banning people from visiting, there is a Kikuyu married there. How are you doing that?
But he did not say about a Kikuyu or Kikuyu. He said that anybody who is Gachagwa's friend is not their friend. Are all Kikuyus Gachagwa's friends, Mwalimu?
Comprehension is taught in school, and I learned it very well.
I hear you.
Yes. It is easy to tell what somebody means. So when you listen to somebody tell you, okay, let's go back and say, she also did not say Mutahi Kahiga, the subject of her press conference, should not visit Bondo. She added Rigathi Gachagua. I'm not saying that Rigathi Gachagua is any good or bad person, but why should she go talking about Mutahi Kahiga and then banning Rigathi Gachagua as well? What she's looking is what I told you earlier. She's looking for an all-powerful boogeyman to be blaming for everything wrong, to be trying to tell the people of Lowland, I'm protecting you from this big enemy called Rigathi Gachagua, so that people can follow her. Because she had already started a narrative in the vacant constituency of Kasipul that, this war we are in, this battle we are in is not about the two candidates. It's about Raila Odinga and them. You saw the way they talked. They are trying to humiliate Baba. They are trying to embarrass him. And so you must elect Baba as candidate so that Baba is not embarrassed by the enemy. Because they have no clear agenda of saying, elect this boy, he can debate your matters in parliament, he can bring development, he can manage the CDF resources well. No, they have no such agenda. Their agenda is about who is fighting who and who should be behind.
We'll come to that, Mwalimu. You haven't answered my question in terms of whether there is going to be a seismic shift of political, let me say a paradigm shift of politics in Luo Nyanza, in ODM strongholds. How are they going to survive? Because the center that used to hold them together, the center bolt, is no longer there. People used to use, Raila Odinga's photo on the posters, political posters, campaign posters. Is no more. How are they going to survive? This is what I want to hear from you, Mwalimu.
I am telling you.
Tell me.
That there is going to be a serious tremors in Luoland, even earthquakes. Some of the people who are synonymous with the Luoland, who are synonymous with ODM, some people who would even talk in their dreams and you hear Raila ODM will not be re-elected. For a very simple reason. Instead of having learned how to deal with the people, how to campaign effectively and objectively, their campaign was about Raila Odinga. So is it now when they are going to learn to talk to people objectively about the roles of their positions they are looking for? No. There are also many of them that people were just sparing them because of Raila Odinga, because of the fear of Raila Odinga. And don't take me wrongly when I keep on giving you Homa Bay as the example, because that is where I come from. I know nothing about Muranga. I know not so much about Kisumu and Kisii. It is Homa Bay where I come from, I know. So that is why sometimes, each time I bring for you that as an example.
It's well.
I can tell you for free. Many people in Homa Bay County and Luland in general feared Gladys Wanga because she appeared to be very close to Raila.
I hear you.
Fear that now that she hangs around Raila so much, she can go there and talk to him about us being bad people. She's also the one who can go there and bring our nomination certificates. So those people who feared her and who are scared of her and who are loyal for that reason are no longer going to be loyal. I will not be surprised if the MCS in Homa Bay now finally come back to impeach, say, their own majority leader, whom they tried to impeach. And Gladys called each one of them and told them, don't try. If you try, you will not be re-elected. So things are going to change in a way that people will be shocked. Let me tell you something that happens in our homes. When a man dies, you discover the wife who are very friendly to the brothers-in-law and uncles. Suddenly, there's a lot of friction between them. Because they loved my wife because I was alive, they feared me. It was not genuine. And that is what we are going to see in Luoland. And unfortunately, Luoland are people who are normally very proud of wise people, educated and intelligent people who told them wise things whenever they meet. But suddenly, Luoland had become a place for utmost mediocrity. For people who know so little what the people who are being elected because they could be loyal to a fault. They were loyal without questioning. They are the people of left, right. I don't know if these politicians that I used to check their profiles and find they have put a pinned post that Baba is right. Number 2, Baba is always right. Number 3, if you are in doubt, refer to number 1. Such politicians, I saw Gladys Wanga had it in her profile pinned. The MP for Madare, Olwach, had that one pinned there. And that is the only thing they could remember, recite Baba this, Baba that, Baba this, Baba that. They even, I'm sure if you ask them, what are their roles, they will not enumerate it correctly to the end. They will not. But they will exalt Baba in a whole book the size of the Bible.
I hear you.
So that is why things are going to change. And it is now time for the people in Luoland to look for leaders who can succeed Baba. Because these ones can't, because they were followers of Baba. And they have no ideas of their own. They can't think seriously on their own and do the right thing.
Tell me, Mwalimu, that Baba deliberately did not point to his successor, even though some would argue that he had seen his days draw nigh, but he was that wise. Could it be that he wasn't able, or he did not see anybody among this clique of people who have been around him?
No, Baba did not want anybody to panic. If I am your father, and I call you one day and tell you, I would like, if I go so and so to take charge in my home, everybody will panic. Say, yeah, kumbe Baba is dying tomorrow. So Baba, from afar, there are certain things he did that would make you know what he was thinking.
Tell us.
What he was thinking. Take, for example, when Baba spoke in Machakos, he said, why do you talk about matters we have not discussed? Discussed. He did not say debate. He did not say vote for. He said discussed. And he also said, do not commit the party. And he also said, we have a plan we are implementing. Now, that is the key statement. We have a plan we are implementing. Number 1, it tells you that plan they are implementing is not him on the ballot, because it is not possible that 2 years to the next general election, Baba has not declared that he was going to be the candidate. It means there was a candidate. Number 2, do not commit the party on issues we have not discussed. The only people who can commit a political party are the chair, the secretary general, and the party leader, nobody else. Right? But you heard the way Sifuna was talking. And this is now the party leader talking. So the only other person left is the chair. So Baba was telling the chair, do not commit the party to what we have not discussed.
Thank you.
But there is something about that commitment. Not that what the chair was saying were against what Baba was doing. It is that what the chair was saying should only be said by Baba. Just like when he declared Kibaki Tosha, Raila Odinga was going to declare Ruto Tosha to run either on ODM or an ODM-UDA coalition.
Hold it there, Mwalimu. Tell me, that kind of send-off, the state funeral, the massive resources, the respect that President William Ruto gave to Baba, until at one point some people felt that it was too much.
Let me tell you, I will give you your dues if it is in written law. But if I love you, I will give you your dues depending on my judgment of whether you deserve it or not. You get what I mean?
I hear you.
If you are just ordinary person to me, or I don't like you, I will only give you your dues.
You have the choice to do it or not.
Or not. But if you look at Raila Odinga, it is not in any written law that he should get a state funeral of that magnitude. Right? In 2003, a sitting vice president, the late Kijana Wamalwa, died in the UK, and he came to Kenya in a passenger flight in the cargo hall without so much fanfare like this.
Same to Lucy Kibaki.
Lucy Kibaki, those ones didn't even hold public office, but their office as first ladies was very important. Even Kibaki and Moi did not get the kind of fanfare that Raila Odinga got, which was also partly because of his fanatical following. But for a Kenya Airways jet to leave Kenya, tracked by thousands of Kenyans, to India and back within 24 hours at the cost of the state, was the height of trust that President William Ruto had in Raila Odinga, because he believed in him. This is the same man who was humiliated by the two past presidents, despite the people behind him and his achievements and contributions to governance and democracy in Kenya. You remember during the Kibaki presidency, when Raila Odinga was holding the highest office in the land, only second to the presidency, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, which to many people was co-principal to the president. Raila Odinga had to complain of just a carpet. He was not being provided with that. He was being undermined by a president he once helped to put in office, by a president everybody believed was holding a position that he ought to have been the one holding. Then came the Uhuru regime. When Uhuru defeated Raila in an election, he even prevented him from using the VIP at the airport. Something as we use casually for very small positions we hold in the government. And this person being refused to use the VIP is an immediate former Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, and having served as a minister several times. Look at those two past presidents, and look at what President William Ruto did today. That tells you that their two are human, but Ruto is humane.
I hear you, Mwalimu. Let's come to a bit of politics where you like it. Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga. Mwalimu, people are mourning. People are grieving. But here he comes out dancing. Not only dancing, but also spewing words of hatred against the Right Honorable Prime Minister, saying that God did it well for him to be taken.
When Mutahi Kahiga made the statements he did make, he had the time to think through them. After all, I think he was the guest of honor in the function, or rather even the person who spoke last. He had all the time to think through what he was going to say. So he cannot come back and say it was an accident or whatever it is. That is Mutahi Kahiga for you. I remember the countdown to the last general election. Raila Odinga went to Nyeri on an arrangement of Luo-Kikuyu partnership. And because Nyeri was the home ground of Mutahi Kahiga, he came and alisomea Raila kama mtoto. Akatuambia, huwezi kuja hapa Nyeri kutuambie mambo ya historia. Sisi hapa tunataka kujua ukikuwa rais utatufanyia nini na nini na nini. Alimsomea. Wanda nikiketi hapo. I was there. It's not something I watched on TV.
You were there.
I was sitting there right behind Raila as Mutahi Kahiga alikuwa anatusomea. And this is the same Mutahi Kahiga who is a beneficiary of death. Mutahi Kahiga became the governor of Nyeri after the death of Wahome Gakuru. So for him, he's a beneficiary of death. And the death of Wahome Gakuru was so convenient for him that you can't stop thinking that it was arranged. And why you can think about it was arranged? I read an article from Germany. That article was about how the road rails, the aluminum road rails put on the roadside, are being used to assassinate leaders. Because the level of that aluminum road rail is exactly the level of a Mercedes-Benz of any class. So if you aim at the passenger side, it will get into the car through the windscreen, through the front seat, and down to the back seat, and come out in the boot. And it has one advantage. Once it has gone into the car now also can't roll. So it keeps the driver very safe throughout the assassination process. And yet it is treated that it can only happen in an accident. But I want you to take you back, if we leave about that. We, the Luo, have worked very steadfast with the Kikuyu many a times. But you must allow me to tell you what has happened in those many times.
Tell us so that people can know. Tell us.
In 1963, when Kenya was about to get independence, the colonial government asked Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the father of Raila Odinga, to become the Kenyan leader, to become the president, now that they have decided to grant the presidency to Africans. What did Jaramogi do? Jaramogi told them, I cannot become the president of Kenya while our leader, Jomo Kenyatta, is in jail. In his wit, very well-known wit, Jaramogi wanted to use this opportunity to negotiate, to blackmail the white man to release Kenyatta. And he did not only want to release him only, he also wanted to sacrifice the presidency, if that is what could make Kenyatta be released from jail. And then he told them, you release him and make him our president is our leader. That magnanimity is not found in anyone, not even Raila Odinga himself. But in 1966, they held the first Limuru conference, convened by Kenyatta himself, to block Jaramogi Oginga Odinga just to be the vice president of Kenyatta, not to take over from him, just to be the vice president. And what do? They create other positions of vice presidents, 8 of them, each representing a province. So Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was now going to be reduced to a Nyanza vice president. So he resigned. So the very Kenyatta that Jaramogi removed from jail and then made a president, is the same one who is ensuring that Jaramogi loses the little power of the vice presidency he had earned by his actions. Fast forward, Moi becomes the president by act of the then constitution that demanded that when you are a vice president, you take over the presidency for at least an interim period of 90 days when your boss dies. So Moi becomes the president. And as you know, that time in Kenya, the constitution was very strong. Moi entrenches himself as the president and continues to govern the country going forward. And he became the president until 1978. But before that, they had held a meeting.
Who?
The Kikuyu community in Limuru, to ensure that the constitution was changed so that Moi does not become the president in the event that Kenyatta died. We cannot have a people who believe it is only them who can govern the country of Kenya and not others. I know people want to say, oh, you are being tribal, you are driving. Let us say the truth so that we correct things, so that we are set free. Moi remained the president until 1992.
But people will say they supported William Ruto, Mwalimu, as we are moving forward. Who is the current president? They knew that he's not a Kikuyu. How are you saying that they don't one of them?
But for the benefit of those watching, let me answer that before I go back.
Okay. And also in
when they were supporting President William Ruto to be the president of the Republic of Kenya, it is not lost on us that Uhuru had betrayed him. Because when President William Ruto was making Uhuru the president by joining his supporters' vote and Uhuru's vote to make Uhuru the president, Uhuru promised publicly, yangu kumi ya Ruto kumi. And when it reached the time for Ruto to begin campaigning for his kumi, Uhuru bolted away and told Ruto that anatangatanga round Kenya akitafuta nini. That kumi ndio alikuwa akitafuta. Na hiyo kumi, Uhuru had decided it's not giving him. Not because Uhuru had suddenly decided that he needs to support Raila Odinga and Luo. No. Because Uhuru wanted to remain in power through the back door of creating a position of a prime minister through the BBI. So that when Raila Odinga becomes the president, the powers will have been removed using the BBI to the prime minister. So that Uhuru as a prime minister now forms the government, something that should have been done by the president, because they could not, according to the 1969 oath, fail to be the leader of government, because they know what being the leader of the government entails. But Ruto, being who he is, the charismatic man who fought like Koitalel Arap Samoei, won the battle of BBI and it was blocked. And Uhuru quickly realized that he was not going to be the prime minister, even if Raila won, and Uhuru literally stopped supporting Raila for the presidency. He was now meeting him in the evening and they drink together what now I hear him saying the other day is Uji. So even I saw him going back to Bondo to stay there for a long time as if to tell the world that he was the greatest friend of Raila. He wasn't.
Uhuru Kenyatta?
He wasn't the greatest friend of Raila. He just wanted to use Raila to block Ruto. And when Raila takes the presidency, because Raila wouldn't mind taking the presidency without powers because he had looked for it for so long. But he would be the prime minister. And that is why the BBI, he was creating additional 70 MPs positions, of which many of them were coming from his strongholds. So I come back to the Kikuyu supporting Ruto. When they were supporting Ruto, they had 4 people on the ballot. They had Raila Odinga and they had William Ruto. They had Mutahi Kahiga. No, sorry. Who was the 4th guy? Okay, they had Wajakoya and
Mwaura, someone.
Mwaure.
David
Now,
Mwaure.
Mwaure and Wajakoya were not credible candidates. They were not credible candidates.
How? Wajakoya is a professor. Mwaure is a pastor.
In Kenya, we don't go by that professorship. If you want to be a credible candidate, a believable candidate. This have to be believability in your candidature. First of all, you must have enough resources to campaign throughout the country. The moment people see you don't have the resources to campaign throughout the country, you no longer become believable. You no longer become credible. So both Mwaure and Wajakoya were not credible candidates. They were not believable candidates. So the Kikuyu had only the option of President William Ruto, Karen now, and Raila Odinga. To them, Ruto was a better devil than Raila Odinga, so they opted for Ruto. It is, if they had a credible Kikuyu on the ballot, I can tell you with the Bible up in my hands, they would have not supported William Ruto. I can tell you for free.
I hear you, Mwalimu. Even as we are concluding, tell me, why would you drag in a whole Kikuyu community, yet it is only Kahiga Mutai who spoke ill about Prime Minister Raila Odinga? It is not the whole Kikuyu.
When you talk about a people, it is their leadership. Many things that Raila does is blamed on the whole Luo. Even yesterday, when Gladys Wanga collected people, and one of them, one called Aduinyang, came up to say he has banned Kaiga and Gadi from stepping in Bondo. It is blamed on the whole Luo community because that is the leader they have accepted. If they wanted to clean themselves out of these actions of Jomo Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki, and so on, they have to disown them. If they don't disown them, their actions are blamed on the community because they are leaders of the community.
There were protests, Boda guys in Nyeri town protesting and denouncing the actions of Mutai Kahiga.
I love that part because it has brought something I was going to forget. You remember in the beginning I told you that Mutai Kahiga had the time to think through what he was going to say. But when he said it, he got claps and cheers from the crowd. So how is the crowd coming back to the streets to tell us now they are protesting? Because somebody organized them, go and protest, this thing is a backlash. But when they were in that church, they cheered and clapped. They were happy with what their leader, Mutai Kahiga, said. So what I want to tell Kenyans, that to avoid these issues of tribalism, let us all listen to each other. Let the Kikuyu, let the Luo, let the Kalenjin, let the Luya, the Kamba, and even those tribes which people think are small, come together and say Kenya belongs to all of us. And for us to all live peacefully in Kenya, let's share the resources, including leadership positions, equally and equitably. What that means is the Kikuyu must also believe that non-Kikuyus can also be presidents. But the moment a non-Kikuyu came into presidency, they started that, oh, there is finance bill. Oh, there is this. They even created fake abductions and blamed it on the president. Where does the president go abducting people? Today, if a policeman shoots somebody in Kasarani for trying to remove the body of Raila Odinga from the casket, they still go and blame it on the president. How does the president command the police service? Because they want to use something painful and emotional to derail the president from the good things he's doing. The president doesn't command the police force, and he has not given a public policy that anybody is to be shot on sight. I know people are telling me, oh, he once said, shoot the legs. I am telling you, all these presidents, starting from Jomo Kenyatta, right to Moi, Kibaki, and the rest, know very well the police is supposed to use firearm to protect life and the property of Kenyans. And that is not all. They have all ordered shoot to kill at one time or another. In fact, during Kibaki, was not even the president himself. It was Michuki who ordered the Masai and Supukia to be shot dead if they continue fighting the Kikuyu there.
Thank you, Mwalimu. In 30 seconds, it pains me to see that Raila Odinga fought against tribalism to an extent that he said Kibaki tosha, to an extent of all these things that he did, that he sacrificed his life for. And barely less than a week after his death, we still hate him.
And
even to death.
And the most painful thing is that Kibaki himself was from Nyeri. When Kibaki got an accident and was unable to campaign, after Raila Odinga had abandoned his province mate Nyachai and everybody else and said Kibaki tosha and sent the president to Nyeri, it is a person from Nyeri who is coming to say that it was good Raila Odinga died so that the Kikuyu can get their rightful development project from the government. Yet, is this presidency of Ruto that has only lasted 3 years enough to marginalize the Kikuyu? People who have been in power since 1963, save for a small period in when Moi was president, and they were always the vice president, many times the minister for finance, many times the minister of interior. They had all the power even in that period. So these 3 years, when President William Ruto became the president, that is when they feel marginalized. And they feel when they are being marginalized, it is Raila Odinga who was taking development to Luland. President William Ruto, in any case, started developing the whole country even before the broad-based came. Broad-based came is only a year old, 2024 to 2025, only 1 year. And Mutahi Kahiga is telling the world that development that is supposed to go to Kikuyu land is being taken to Luo land. And when I say that, is you see tribalism in me and not in Mutahi Kahiga. Please, let us believe that Kenya belongs to all of us and we must share all its resources equally and equitably. In any case, just the other day, President William Ruto was in Kitui. In Kitui, a stadium was built for the purpose of the function that went there. And an airport was built from scratch, a new one complete with runway.
Thank you.
That Mutahi Kahiga does not see. The only one he sees is the one that goes to Lowland. Let us love each other as Kenyans.
Thank you. Mwalimu, 10 seconds. To young people, to the Gen Zs, to the young ones who tribalism do not matter to them. They don't want to know who is a Kikuyu, who is a Luo, who is a Kamba. To them, all that matters to them is development and opportunities that they grow to have. What do you say to them?
No. What I want to say to the young people, I always tell it to them. Number one, there is no tribe in Kenya called Gen Zs or young people. These young people all belong to communities, and they grow up with the religion they find in their community. If the religion in the community is anti another community, that is what they grow up with. The selection of Gen Zs to lead the uprising against President William Ruto was carefully selected because they know the Gen Zs did not have the benefit of history that I myself have, that I've taken you through. And they know they can be reckless when they don't agree with you. And they also know the Gen Zs have the energy to execute anything. And they also know the Gen Zs are purists. Purists are these people who believe it has to be red. We can't have a shade of red, lower or higher in darkness.
Thank you.
They are purists. So they would execute this thing the way it is. But true, if you got any Gen Z and asked him, how did you start this thing? They don't know. They just joined it. So it means there's somebody who started it who is not a Gen Z. They just joined it. They started it in their community. They sold it to Kenya as a national movement.
That somebody?
They sold it to Kenya as a national movement, and Kenyans joined in. But today I want to tell them, the Gen Z movement was started by the people who gathered in Limuru, Christian Limuru 3. And if you want to know I'm saying the truth, go to YouTube. You will find the deliberations of Limuru 3 in a 4-hour video, and you will be shocked at what you hear.
Mwalimu alikuwa anasema kwamba Raila ndiye anashikilia Ruto, kwamba Raila akitoka tu hivi wako na yeye. Saizi Raila yuko in 10 seconds mwalimu. I cannot let you go without asking you that. Raila yuko, Ruto ataanguka.
Raila had only one vote. And now that Raila is gone, all we need to do is to remind the Luo, the ones Raila commanded, that you are better off with William Ruto than anybody who is coming to take from him. Because if you want to remove President William Ruto from the office, outside that office, let us see a cleaner man standing there waiting to take over. A man who is cleaner than the ones we are seeing. Because outside the door, people shouting Ruto must go so that they come in. is Rigathi Gachagua. We have had him, and we have even letters written about him firing from positions for his bad manners. This is the same man who told us that other Kenyans who did not vote for them do not have shares in the government and should not have positions. The other person standing outside the door is one Kalonzo Musyoka. We have known him over the years. He cannot be better than President William Ruto now. The other person standing outside the door is Matiang'i, a man who disobeyed 12 court orders in just 5 years. That is the person standing outside the door. A man who used to do things without public participation. You wake up in the morning, you find all school buses will be yellow. You wake up in the morning, you find the police uniform is blue. You wake up in the morning, you find declarations where you don't know where they come from. That person using Uhuru's power, when he will use his own power, you may wake up one morning and find everybody will have to use one leg.
Karua is good.
Martha Karua. You remember Martha Karua when he was in parliament with Raila Odinga? One day he hit Raila Odinga with her own bag in parliament. Physical assault of a woman to a man. Martha Karua is the one who presided over the swearing in of Kibaki at night when Raila Odinga had beaten that man hands down. That is not a woman you can hand power over to. In fact, Martha Karua accepted to be Raila Odinga's running mate because of a simple reason. She had believed Raila may not make it to 2032 or 2027. She believed it. And she knew at one time or another she would be declared the president midway. But as God would have it, what you plan in darkness, he sees and ensured.
Mwalimu, you can't say that without justification. I can't allow you to go away with that. How did you know?
That is why I'm an analyst. That is why I am. I look at the events. I look at for the action. As soon as they lost, she ran back to her brother from the mountain, Rigathi Gachagua. There's no good reason why Martha Karua abandoned Raila Odinga to run to Rigathi Gachagua.
She's a lawyer. She might come for you.
I'm here. Even in Luland, we have very many lawyers. But the law is written in English. So when I'm speaking here, I know what I'm saying.
I hear you. Thank you so much, Mwalimu. And with that, we come to the end of our conversation tonight. It has been the People's Bench, brought to you by Fred Ogweno. That is myself, coming to you from Muthu Silver Springs Hotel, a place where we say it the way it is, only on the People's Bench. It has been a privilege having none other than my friend Mwalimu Odoyo Owidi, a senior political analyst. He says it the way it is. If you want undiluted, pure truth, bitter truth, then look for Mwalimu Odoyo Owidi. You will say it. You love him, you hate him. He says it exactly like that. Thank you so much for watching. And remember to subscribe on the YouTube channel at the People's Bench. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much, Mwalimu.
Thank you, my brother.
For always stretching the bitter truth.
Mungu akulindeko.
Asante sana. Akulindeko pia. We do it again.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye-bye.